Hi, in this video we're going to cover the audio setup for Studio One, how to configure your audio interface so you can get sound in and out of Studio One. So we'll start Studio One, and this is the start page for Studio One, and right in the middle where it says Setup, it will show the currently selected audio device. And if we want to change that or get more details, we can click on this option right here, Configure Audio Device. So that takes us right into the options dialog, which has several tabs, but we're most interested in the audio setup. And this very first selection, audio device, is where you would pick the audio input and output device that you want to use with Studio One. So we're going to leave this set where it was. And there's some other options here. This device block size, I think 256 is a pretty good starting point. And we'll cover these other setups in the future, but right now we're just trying to get to the basic setup, get some sound in and out of Studio One. So with that set, we'll just click OK. And now we'll create a new song. This says new song. We'll just go with that. And now let's just see with that audio device set up if we can get sound out of Studio One. So if the browser's not open, you can open it and close it in the lower right corner with this button. So we'll open that. I'm going to choose Sounds. And this opens the included audio content that comes with Studio One. So I've gone into the Studio One Loops Volume 1, and I just picked something that's 120 beats per minute to match the default tempo of a new song. And then if we click play here, I'm going to select one of these loops and click play. And there we go. I'm getting sound out of Studio One. So that's a great sign that we are on the right track. Now, Studio One is a little different than other software because the input settings and the output settings are actually part of the song. So there's additional setup right in the song. So if we go to the song menu to song setup, and on the audio I/O setup, we can map the inputs to the hardware inputs. So right now, nothing is mapped in here, and you'll see how this works when we get started. I'm going to add a mono input, and right now I have 4 inputs, so I'm going to add 4 mono inputs and 1 stereo input. And this matches the way I use the hardware, and I'm going to label these. This one will be mic 1, and the next one is mic 2, and I'm renaming these by just double-clicking right on the field. Now, normally I connect my voiceover mic to input channel 3, and I use channel 4 if I'm playing guitar or bass direct into the system. So I'll just label that guitar. And this 5th input, which I used a stereo track, I have a guitar processor called an X-Effects. And if I had a keyboard, I would add that in here as well. So these are the software inputs, and these are the hardware inputs. And you can decide how these are mapped. These are mapped in pairs when it's stereo, and these are mapped mono, so they can be reorganized any way you like. You can even set 2 of them the same. And if you go to another studio, you can remap these to match the hardware in another studio or on another computer without really messing up your song at all. These will stay with the song. So I'm going to apply that, and then we'll go check the output tab. Now the output is automatically, the main output is assigned to outputs 1 and 2, which were working. And down here, the audition output was also automatically set to the main output. The audition output is the one that the browser uses to play back loops or other sounds that you haven't yet brought into your song. Now, if you had a system where you had a headphone mix, you might add that as a stereo pair on different outputs. So like if this is my Q mix 1, I could label that Q1, and for a Q mix, to allow configuration of a Q mix in Studio One, you could turn these on. We'll get into the more details of that later, but for now, we'll just leave it like this. I'm going to apply that here. Now, in order that I don't need to do this every time I create a new song, all I need to do is click this option here, Make Default, and this will save it. So the next time I create a new song, all this will be pre-set up. The other interesting thing you'll see is that there's a little input monitoring here. So as you're configuring this, you can actually test this out to see if this is working. So for instance, this is my voiceover mic, and you can see that sound is coming in there. And on this guitar input, if I just make a little noise on the guitar, you can see that that's input is also mapped the way I want it. All right, so with that said, we're going to also now do a little test to see if we can get sound in for recording. So to create a new track, I can click on this plus to add a new track. And then right here on the track is where you select which input, and you see a nice list that completely matches our equipment. So if I put it on voiceover and I click right here, I've record enabled that, and I'm getting a little meter indication here. If I go down here and click record, you can see I'm now recording my voiceover. Let's just do another one and to see if we can get a little sound on the guitar. So we'll create a track for the guitar. Input. I'll disable record there, put record on the guitar. And we'll just record a couple notes. All right, so we have our basic setup going. We're able to get sound in, we're able to record. And so from here, we can move on and do a lot more interesting things with Studio One. So thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.